Hello friends and welcome back. I'm Enterprise Architecture and we are once again playing Oceanblock 2. Now this is going to be a little bit of a recap episode. Geek and I were playing together on the server here and we were having a lot of trouble setting up the time crystal system that you can see directly behind me here. It just was not working for us as we had expected. So it took me a while to get that set up and working properly. Moreover, I also had to go ahead and make the quantum armor here so we would be protected for our battle with the final boss. So I did all of that between episodes. I actually recorded a lot of it and the recording was corrupted. So we are going to do a quick recap of all of the things that I had to go through to get to this point so you don't miss out on a single bit. So with no further ado, let's dive right in. What you see in front of me here is a budding time crystal block, and this is how we are getting our supply of time crystals here. You can see that this setup has a bunch of things going on. We have a growth accelerator from Applied Energistics. That's getting our time crystals growing on the budding crystal faster. And above it, we have our standard block breaker here that is breaking just the area of the crystal. And you see in just a second here, it will break this large cluster when it turns into a full cluster momentarily, or one of these clusters. Just need to wait one more second. There we go. So it's going to break those. And the rendered area here shows us that I've set these offsets so it's just that section just around this block. Moreover, I put in a Supremium pickaxe in this advanced block breaker. Again, just Dire Things block breaker. And this has got Fortune 3 on it. It's also unbreakable by default. So one thing that I did not like about the block breakers previously is that they use durability, but using any of the Mystical Ag unbreakable pickaxes will resolve that for you. So that's how we are dealing with this. And again, allow list only just time crystal clusters. Now, in a moment, once it's broken enough of these, the budding time crystal block will break and it will disappear. And then we can talk about what happens next to this crystal. I will mention that the crystal to make this, you just need the Shadow Pulse goo. So budding time crystal, it took us a little while to figure this out. You're going to want to use the time crystal block made out of a bunch of pieces of time crystal, which you can only mine in the rift. That will give you the time crystal block. That is then put down next to our Shadow Pulse goo, and that will convert it into a budding time crystal block. Now you can't mine these. You cannot use Silk Touch on them to pick them up. You have to use a cardboard box or similar method, but the mechanism cardboard box is the easiest way to pick those up and carry them around. Put them in the final location that you want it to be stored. The other way you can move them around is with these advanced swappers from Just Dire Things. Oh, watch. There we go. You notice it turned blue and then disappeared? That's the advanced swappers at work. And I'm going to show you exactly how that works. Now, why did it turn blue? Why did it disappear? Just like a lot of the other budding crystals in the pack, it does break after a certain number of crystals are harvested off of it. Rather than fixing it directly, what you have to do is teleport it between various dimensions to recharge. It goes to the overworld first, which is where it starts, to get the first recharge, which basically is a 0 recharge. It doesn't do anything. We then send it to the nether. It'll turn red once it's charged there enough. And then we send it to the compact machine world inside of a compact machine, which is also a separate dimension technically. And that dimension will then charge it back up to full. And once that's done charging, it'll magically reappear back on this pedestal. Now, all of those teleportations are a delicate dance managed by these advanced swappers from Just Dire Things, along with an advanced sensor from Just Dire Things. We talked about the advanced sensor previously when we were dealing with automating our Shadow Pulse goo and other things. We're using that to feed Skulk to this block only when the Shadow Pulse goo is alive, meaning hungry and needs to be fed. So this sends a redstone pulse to the advanced clicker, and that'll throw Skulk at it, and then it'll be fed. So that's how this happens, so that it's automatically being fed. Oh, and the block just came back. It just teleported back in. We're doing a very similar thing over here. Now, when I was setting all of this up, it took me a whole bunch of tries to figure this out. I spent about 3 hours on it. And what I finally determined was this: the advanced sensor, you have to make sure that this is a budding time crystal block first and foremost. It cannot be the regular time crystal block, it has to be the budding one. Now, this says stage 1, and stage 1 in this case means it is ready to move to the nether. So it is the blue stage, and that means it is ready to be charged again in the nether. So stage 1 is the first sensor that we're going to want to sense for. The render area here, you're going to want to turn this on at each of the machines to double check that it's only going to be in the location where that block is. This screwed me up pretty bad. you always need to check that the render area is correct, because if you pick up one of these and move them, the render area doesn't always move with it properly. So keep that in mind. I was assuming that it would just look at whatever's directly in front of the block. Not always the case. So make sure your render area is turned on for each machine as you're checking it, and then adjust the offsets until just that block, again, no radius additional here, just that block is selected. So that block is selected. We know that the sensor is sensing. This sensor is going to send a redstone pulse to all the blocks around it. In that case, it's going to go to the advanced swapper next to it. This advanced swapper is the one that is the sender. This is going to send it to the nether. You can see here it's bound to a location in the nether. And again, we want to double check that our redstone location is the same there, that same spot. And that's the block that it's going to swap in that render spot. Now, note that this is set to redstone pulse, and this one is setting a strong signal at 20 ticks. So basically this is expecting a pulse, and that's going to last for 20 ticks. That's enough to send it to the nether, but not to bounce it back here accidentally for some reason. So that's going to send that crystal. Now, that's the sender. Every advanced swapper has to be part of a pair. So you have to have a sender and you have to have a destination. And honestly, you can toggle those. If you send another redstone pulse, it'll send it back to wherever you got it from. But since we want our destinations to basically go through a loop here, not just back to where it started, we need 3 pairs of these because we're going to go through 3 different dimensions. So the advanced swapper here, as I mentioned, that sends it to the nether. This swapper actually sets the destination of where it needs to come back from the compact machine world. As you can see here, that's bound to the compact machine world. So when it's done, it'll get teleported here. To bind 2 of these together, we are going to want to use the ferrocore wrench, easily made from just dire things. We just need ferrocore ingots. This tool can be used for a variety of things, including rotating blocks, but it also binds a pair of swappers. So if I right click with my wrench, I will bind to this block, to that location. I can then go to my second one and then bind that to the same location. So if I look at this one will say that it's bound to 2910, 216, 294. This one says that it's bound to 29010, 216, 291. And if I actually stand on this block, you'll see I'm at 294 on this one, and this is 291 over here. So these are now bound together. That means one in, one out. And if I set a render area here and a render area here, I could then use a redstone pulse to swap the blocks between the 2. All right, so let's see this in action. So I've added a flux point on each of these, and those are providing power to our swappers. I put an Oratech button on each, and here is an Oratech machine core. So every time I send a pulse to one of these blocks, it should teleport it to the location of the other block. So if I click this, there we go, that sends it over here. And now if I push this, that sends it over there. But these are actually bi-directional. So if I push this one again, it'll just send it right back. Because again, it's swapping whatever is in this location. So let's look at that in action. So now we've got an acacia log over here and an advanced machine core on the other side. If I click this, they swap locations. And if I click this, they swap back. It doesn't care, it's just changing one for the other. That's why it's so important to make sure that you have your render area set to the proper location, because otherwise it will indeed send the wrong block. I had a couple of times when I was accidentally sending my power cables back and forth to other dimensions. That did not go well for me, friends. This works pretty darn well though, and has been pretty seamless now that I finally got that sorted out. All right, so that's how these swappers work. Let's look at how these actually work between dimensions. So again, this one is sending us to the nether. So let's go ahead and warp to our nether portal. And back here in the nether, you can now see that this budding time crystal block is absorbing those red particles, and that means it's getting charged up with nether energy. Now, I have to supply power to all of the machines in the same sort of a setup again. We have our advanced sensor checking for the right settings. This is looking for stage 2 this time instead of stage 1. That means when it turns red. And then again, this is the swapper that sends, the one that gets the redstone pulse. This is the swapper that is then receiving from the overworld. And again, this one is now set to the compact world. It's going to send over that way. This power supply that I'm using the flux point, I've got chunk loading turned on for this power supply. And that means that this will then work regardless of whether or not I'm in this dimension. It forces the chunk loading. And the other big tip here that I learned is that you do want to make sure that you are within a chunk when you are doing this. So these are the chunk boundaries. That makes sure that this is going to work properly. You can see just then it turned red and it went to the compact machine world. Let's follow it through the compact machine world. There you go. Now we're going to get some music for some reason in here. But as you can see, the compact machine world, it's now got the red block, and the same thing's going to happen. This time, under the sensor, we are looking for stage 3. That means ready to grow crystals. So that's just going to hang out for a second. You see it's getting green particles now. And again, this swapper sends, this is the destination. So this gets it from the nether. This one sends it to the overworld. And that will work seamlessly. Again, chunk loading is turned on. And again, we are within one chunk. So that's done. And then it disappears. We follow it again back to our main base. And then we should see over here, it's back here, it's growing crystals. So that's how all of that works. We have an absorption hopper here that is accidentally absorbed up a few of our amethyst shards, not what we want, but that's getting time crystals in here. So every time those get broken, those get sucked into that machine. That is how time crystal automation works in a nutshell. And now we are getting just hundreds, thousands of time crystals, which means that we can now automate all of our advanced time crystal production and stay in the rift for a lot longer. Now, the other thing that I did between episodes was I made a suit of quantum armor. Geek made his up last episode, but I didn't get around to it. I was still running around with the Eclipse armor. That is terrifically underpowered for dealing with the rift monsters, unfortunately. So you can see here I'm wearing this armor in addition to a bunch of relics. That's where my fancy gloves and boots came from, was the relics mod. But the armor itself is relatively straightforward for us. I actually had found a quantum helmet in one of the chests that I got. I can't remember if it was in the rift or if I got that from an airdrop, but that's where the quantum helmet came from. The other 3 pieces I did have to make, as well as all of these upgrades. So the quantum armor comes to us from Advanced AE, which is the additional AE thing that gives us the quantum computer that we saw in the previous episode. It also allows you to make these quantum alloy plates, in addition to the quantum processors we had to make, and the quantum storage components. Those get added together to our Eclipse armor from Just Dire Things, and that gives us a quantum chest plate. Similarly, the boots, the helmet, these are all made in almost exactly the same recipe here, with just the armor piece in the middle. In this case, I've made for myself a bunch of different armor upgrades. Notably here, I added the auto feeding card, which I'd been desperate to find anything for auto feeding because I was just basically starving and I was looking for the backpacks mod one that drops, but I couldn't find that upgrade anywhere. So now we have an auto feeding card. That pairs really nicely with the infinite ham that I found. So this is a relic that just continues to give yourself a ham that you can eat on forever, which is really nice. We have an auto stock card. I'd been using that before I found the infinite ham to automatically stock bread into my inventory. So I always have some bread and I could just eat whenever I need. A luck card just increases your luck. Night vision, of course, is necessary so you can see what you're doing. And a portable workbench card so you have a workbench anywhere you want that's a full-size crafting table. In the chest plate, I've got flight. I've got additional HP, lava immunity, regen, strength for additional attack damage, and attack speed. The leggings, I added a walk speed card, a sprint speed card, and a reach card. The walk speed is actually kind of unnecessarily fast now. I might take this one out because it actually goes too fast. It's actually almost annoying how fast you can walk. But I guess, I shouldn't be complaining. And then, of course, the quantum boots here. I've got jump, height, evasion, and flight drift. Now, you can see there at the top, it says linked. You have to go to your wireless access point, the same as you use for your wireless universal terminal. You drop it in here in the link location, and that will then link the armor. And then it can use all of the things that are in your AE system for your stock card, for your crafting, all of that sort of stuff. So that works really, really nicely for us. So that's how we did that. Just a quick note of how those cards are made. Let's go to advanced. Right, so these cards are relatively expensive. The base card itself requires 4 quantum processors and a quantum alloy plate. Quantum alloy plates, we need quantum infusion, quantum alloy, netherite, and nether stars. The quantum alloy itself is made in the reaction chamber as well, with quantum infusion, copper, shattered singularities, and singularities. Thankfully, because we've set all of that up for auto crafting, we have a nether star farm where we're using mystical ag to grow nether star shards from nether seeds. So we did that a long time ago. So now we have almost 9,000 nether stars, which is a bit unnecessary if you ask me. That's just a lot. We have plenty of singularities that have been crafting because we've been doing that since, I don't know, episode 20 or something. Somewhere over here, we're crafting those. Yeah, right here. So this drawer is actually at 4,000 already, but you can see here we're these craft pretty darn quick. So we have a lot of those going on, and so forth and so on. So that's how we're making all of those ingredients. That's the base card. Then each of these additional cards requires additional ingredients. So for instance, the auto feeding card requires a glistening melon, a golden carrot, and an enchanted golden apple, in addition to a wireless axe. The auto feeding card, oh sorry, that was the auto feeding card. The water breathing card requires pufferfish and heart of the sea for whatever reason. That's what that requires. Flight, feathers, and elytra, and TNT, and so forth and so on. Some of these were harder than others to make. Notably, where is the jump card or the luck card? One of these requires rabbit essence, which is somewhat problematic because I didn't really want to have to kill a rabbit. Oh, the regeneration card requires rabbit in addition to the luck card. So I didn't want to kill rabbits. You all know how I feel about that. Instead, you can use rabbit essence. And rabbit essence you get from rabbit seeds. Rabbit seeds you make from soul jars with rabbits. You can make those soul jars full by using rabbit hide. Now, rabbit hide, conveniently enough, we can make out of leather in our atomic reconstructor. The leather we can make in the atomic reconstructor using rotten flesh. So all of those recipes I've actually programmed into our atomic reconstructor. So no rabbits were harmed in the production of these things. The mushrooms needed for the mushroom stew, I actually got from a mushroom island. So over here, this mycelium here, there's all sorts of mushrooms hanging out on this island over here, or there were. There's also wild and stalkers though, because we don't want to hang out with those. So yeah, there's a mushroom. Hey friend. So there's plenty of mushrooms here, and that's how we got our mushrooms. Anyway, so those sorts of quests are how we got all of these cards. I didn't get every single card, but I got a lot of the cards, which has been extremely useful. And now we're more than ready to take on the final boss, the Rift Weaver. All right, and with that, you all should be up to speed now. Couple of housekeeping notes here. First things first, I want to mention the next episode, I believe, is going to be the last episode in this series. So if you haven't already, hop over to the poll that I posted and vote on what you want me to play next. There's a couple of Skyblock packs that have had my eye for a while that I really want to dive into, but I've also been thinking that this is a great time for me to pick back up Vintage Story, which I haven't touched in a long time. I don't think I played it in about a year, but there have been some major updates and there's some nice new mods that I want to check out. So if you want to see me do a cozy playthrough of Vintage Story, this is a good time to vote for that instead. But hey, you all tell me what you want. Now, if you don't see something on that list that you want me to play and you've got another idea, feel free to drop a comment and let me know as well. Or if the poll is closed out, you can always drop a comment in the section here below here and tell me what you think I should be playing. Again, always looking for advice on really great packs to check out. With all of that taken care of, I think I just wanted to do a really quick fly through and show you what the base looks like at this stage as we're ending the pack, just so you can see how much progress we've actually made. But for now, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye, friends!